The colony of Virelia had always prided itself on beauty, strength, and intelligence. Every decade, the people held a grand contest called the Champion of Insight. It was not just a test of skill or courage, but of perception, the ability to see beyond the obvious, to recognize true value in the universe. Those who won this contest became leaders, shaping the future of the colony and guiding humanity toward greatness. Commander Kale stood atop the grand dais, his eyes sweeping across the candidates. The air was filled with whispers of admiration and expectation. Every candidate had been carefully selected, the tallest, the strongest, the most beautiful. They were perfect in every way, or so the colony thought. Kyle did not judge like others. He did not see the polished appearances or the sparkling eyes and perfect features. He looked deeper. Among the crowd of candidates, he noticed a maid. She was small, with plain clothes, and her hair tied carelessly in a loose braid. Her face had no striking features. Her hands were rough from work, and she seemed ordinary in every way. Other people ignored her. Some laughed quietly, calling her ugly. Yet Kale's gaze lingered. There was something in her calmness, in the way she watched the world without being noticed. Something in the way her eyes studied details others missed. The contest organizers approached Kale, reminding him of tradition. "Commander Kale, the prize must be someone who reflects the colony's ideals, strength, beauty, intelligence," they said. "Choose wisely. The colony is watching." Kyle nodded but did not speak. He already knew. He stepped forward, moving through the crowd. The candidate straightened, assuming he would select the obvious choice. The tallest, the brightest, the most beautiful. But when he reached the maid, he smiled gently. "You," he said, "you will be my prize." A hush fell over the hall. Murmurs erupted into loud gasps. People turned to each other, shocked. "Did he really just choose her?" one whispered. "The ugly maid?" Another said, disbelief in their voice. Lyra, the maid, blinked in surprise. She had been invisible for so long that she had never expected anyone to notice her. She looked at Kale, her heart pounding. "Me?" she asked quietly. Kale nodded. "Yes, you," the organizers protested. "Commander Kale, this is unheard of. You cannot choose someone so ordinary, are you certain?" Kale's eyes did not waver. "I see something no one else does. I see potential. True value is never on the surface. It is inside, waiting to be recognized." The crowd was silent. Even the most confident candidates looked unsure. Some tried to hide their surprise, others could not. But Kale did not care. He had learned long ago that appearances were often deceiving. The strongest warriors sometimes had weak minds. The most beautiful faces often hid shallow thoughts, and intelligence could be hidden in the most unlikely forms. Lyra's hands trembled slightly. She had never imagined being chosen for anything. She had spent her life cleaning floors, preparing meals, and serving quietly. No one had ever asked for her opinion or recognized her efforts. And now here she was, selected for the most important honor in the colony. Kale extended his hand. Lyra hesitated, then placed her small hand in his. There was a spark of understanding between them, a silent acknowledgement that this moment was not random. As the ceremony continued, Kale and Lyra left the hall together. Outside, the sun of Virelia shone brightly over the crystalline towers of the city. People stared, pointing and whispering, but Kyle paid them no mind. He had chosen for reasons beyond their understanding. During the journey to the archives, Kale observed Lyra closely. She moved with a quiet grace, her eyes noticing details he had missed. The way the sunlight reflected off a panel, the pattern of energy conduits running beneath the ground, the subtle hum of machinery in the distance. It was not the work of training or books. It was instinct. She had a mind that could see the hidden connections in the world. Kale's thoughts drifted to the history of the contest. Many past champions had chosen their prizes for appearance, popularity, or traditional expectations. Some had succeeded, others had failed. But Kale felt confident that Lyra's hidden abilities would surpass any superficial talent. As they walked, Lyra spoke quietly, still uncertain. "Why me, Commander?" "I am just a maid. I have no special training or knowledge." Kale looked at her, his expression serious. True strength is not always measured by training. True intelligence is not always written in books. I see something in you that cannot be taught. You notice what others do not. You understand what others ignore. That is rare. That is valuable. That is why I chose you. Lyra's eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. She had never been told she was special. She had never believed it. Yet here was someone, a leader of the colony, saying she had worth beyond measure. As they reached the gates of the Varelian archives, Kyle explained the next step. The contest is not over. You must walk with me through the archives. Learn the truths of our past and the secrets of alien knowledge. If you succeed, you will not only become my prize, but a guide for the future of humanity. Lyra nodded, determination slowly replacing her doubt. She had spent her life serving others. Now she would serve something greater. Inside the archives, the air was cool and filled with the scent of ancient machinery. The walls were lined with glowing symbols, holographic displays and relics from civilizations long gone. Many had walked these halls and failed to understand them. Many had dismissed the knowledge as too complex. Cale watched Lyra carefully. He knew that what they faced here would test her mind and spirit. But he also knew she had something no one else had: perception. As the first chamber of the archives opened, a series of holographic puzzles appeared, designed to test logic, intuition, and insight. The other candidates would have struggled, relying only on memorized knowledge. Lyra, however, stepped forward calmly. She studied the symbols, noticing patterns others overlooked. She connected ideas that seemed unrelated, and the puzzles shifted, responding to her understanding. Cale's lips curved into a small smile. The first sign of her hidden talent had appeared, and it was more impressive than he had imagined. Outside, the murmurs of the colony grew louder. People questioned Cale's choice, but they could not see what he saw. They judged by appearances. They could not see the mind, the instinct, the brilliance hidden in someone who seemed ordinary. Cale and Lyra continued through the archives, the light from the holograms reflecting in her eyes. With each step, her confidence grew. She began to understand that being chosen was not an accident, and that her potential was real. By the time they reached the end of the first chamber, Kyle knew that his choice was more than justified. Lyra was not just a maid. She was something extraordinary, a hidden jewel in a world that valued only surface beauty. And in choosing her, Cale had chosen the future, one where humanity could rise not because of looks or strength, but because of insight, courage, and the unseen brilliance within. As they exited the chamber, Cale placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "The journey is only beginning," he said. "But already you have proven why I chose you. The colony may not understand now, but one day they will see, and they will know that the true prize was never on the surface, it was always within you." Lyra nodded, her heart pounding with a mixture of pride and anticipation. For the first time she felt truly seen, and so the journey began, the journey of the maid who was more than she seemed, and the commander who saw what no one else could. The Varelian archives stretched endlessly, a labyrinth of light, sound, and knowledge. Ancient relics hummed softly, and holographic symbols floated in the air like shimmering fireflies. Every step they took felt heavier than the last, not because of distance, but because of the weight of the history around them. Many humans had entered these halls seeking knowledge, but few had truly understood it. Commander Cale and Lyra moved carefully through the chambers. Cale watched her closely, observing not just her movements, but the way her mind worked. She had already solved the first puzzles, patterns so complex that most highly trained scholars would have failed, yet she had done it with quiet ease, as if the solutions were a natural part of her thought process. "Lyra," Kyle said, "these chambers were not made to test strength or courage alone. They are designed to reveal perception, insight, and adaptability. Most people fail because they cannot see beyond what is visible. You have already begun to see what others cannot." Lyra glanced at him, her plain face betraying a hint of pride. I just noticed things," she said softly. "The patterns, the connections, they feel natural to me," Cal smiled. "Natural or not, it is rare. You have a mind that interprets more than information. You understand relationships, probabilities, and subtle changes. That is why I chose you. Others might see only what is apparent, but you see what lies beneath the surface." Their next chamber was darker, filled with floating spheres of light, each representing fragments of alien knowledge. The spheres pulsed, reacting to thought and emotion. Cale instructed her, "You must connect the fragments to reconstruct the message they carry." Others would spend days, even weeks, trying to decode it. You, however, must do it intuitively. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes narrowing as she studied the spheres. At first, the light seemed random, chaotic, and meaningless. But gradually, she began to notice subtle rhythms, patterns in the pulses. She extended a hand, moving it slowly through the lights. One by one, the spheres aligned, forming sequences that no human had ever deciphered before. Kale's eyes widened slightly. "Incredible," he murmured. "You are seeing what even the most advanced human minds cannot perceive." As the last sphere clicked into place, the chamber lit up fully, projecting a holographic map of the Varelian star systems and distant alien territories. Lyra stepped back, awe in her eyes. I can see connections between planets, their resources, even signals we've never detected before," she whispered. Kyle nodded. "Exactly. This is not about memory or brute intelligence. It is about insight. You are understanding the universe on a level few humans can achieve, and this is only the beginning." Their progress did not go unnoticed. Outside the archives, some colony members had begun to watch, curious about the maid who had been chosen. Rumors spread quickly. "She solved the first chamber alone. She is predicting patterns in alien data." Some were skeptical, unable to see past their own judgments. Others were astonished. Slowly, people began to realize that Kale's choice was not foolish but extraordinary. The next challenge was more dangerous. A series of environmental simulations tested not just intellect, but perception and instinct. The chamber transformed around them, simulating storms, earthquakes, and energy surges. Alarms blared and holographic walls shifted unpredictably. Most humans would panic, their training failing them in the chaos. Lyra remained calm. Her eyes scanned the environment, noting subtle clues, the direction of the shifting lights, the patterns of the simulated energy surges, the rhythm of the artificial storms. She moved with precise steps, avoiding hazards and guiding Kale safely through the chamber. Each time a new danger appeared, she predicted it before it happened, adjusting her movements naturally. Kale followed, impressed. "Your instincts are unmatched," he said. "This is why appearances do not matter. You are capable of anticipating outcomes, understanding patterns, and acting faster than most of us could even imagine." The chamber finally stilled, lights dimming as the simulation ended. Lyra stood, breathing evenly, her plain face calm and composed. I didn't even think," she said, shaking her head slightly. "It just felt right." Kale nodded. "Exactly. That is your greatest strength. You do not rely solely on knowledge or strength. You combine observation, intuition, and reasoning seamlessly. You are what humanity could become, more than the sum of training and tradition." As they continued, Lyra's abilities became more evident. In one chamber, she deciphered alien inscriptions that no scholar had understood for decades. In another, she solved a complex energy matrix that controlled the colony's environmental systems, preventing a simulated meltdown. With each challenge, Kale realized that her mind operated on a level far beyond ordinary humans. Outside, the colony's view of Lyra began to change. People whispered not about her appearance, but about her talent. They began to see that her quiet demeanor and plain looks had hidden a mind of extraordinary potential. Kale's gamble, once ridiculed, now seemed visionary. Finally, they reached the chamber of reflection, the last room before the inner archives. Here, holographic images of the colony's past, present, and possible future were displayed. Kale turned to Lyra. "This chamber will test your understanding of humanity itself. You must make sense of the patterns of our past and predict how we can thrive in the future. Most would be overwhelmed, but I believe you will see the connections." Lyra stepped forward, her gaze steady. She studied the holograms, the successes, the failures, the innovations, the conflicts. Slowly, she began connecting dots, seeing causes and effects that others had missed. She predicted trends, suggested solutions, and even identified hidden threats that could affect the colony for decades. Kyle watched, admiration and respect growing. He had chosen her because he saw potential. Now that potential was being realized before his eyes. Lyra was not just intelligent. She was visionary. She had the rare ability to understand systems, anticipate problems, and guide humanity toward its best possible future. By the time they left the chamber of reflection, Kale knew one thing with certainty. Lyra was more than a maid. She was the next step in human evolution, someone who could lead not by brute strength or superficial charm, but by insight, courage, and intelligence. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "You see now why I chose you," he said softly. It was never about appearances. It was about what you really are, and what you really are is extraordinary. Lyra looked at him, her eyes shining. I think I understand now. But why me? Why did you see this when no one else did? Cale smiled. Because I look deeper than the surface. I trust what others ignore, and sometimes the greatest treasure is hidden in the most unlikely place. You were always meant for this, Lyra, and now the colony will see it too. Outside the archives, the whispers grew into admiration. Slowly, the colony began to realize that the so-called Ugly Maid was anything but ordinary. She was a symbol of human potential, proof that true greatness comes not from appearance, but from insight, wisdom, and the courage to act on what is unseen. And so, Lyra walked forward, no longer invisible, ready to reveal the extraordinary power hidden inside her mind. The journey was far from over, but already she had proven why Cale's choice had been the only right one. The revelation had begun. The colony of Virelia had never faced anything like this. From the far edges of space, a mysterious alien force had appeared, observing the planet silently. Their ships were unlike anything the humans had built, sleek, dark, and impossibly fast. Sensors detected no weapons at first, but Cale knew better. Any civilization advanced enough to observe without contact could also strike without warning. Inside the command chamber, Cale and Lyra studied the incoming data. Lyra's eyes moved rapidly across holographic screens, connecting patterns no one else could see. They are watching, yes, she said quietly. But they are also probing, trying to understand us. They are testing how we respond to threats, Cale nodded. We cannot rely on firepower alone. They are faster, stronger, and far more advanced. If we respond like others would, we will lose. But with you here, I believe we have a chance. Lyra concentrated, her mind analyzing every variable. Energy readings, ship movements, planetary defenses, even the morale of the colony. Slowly, she began to form a strategy, one that no ordinary human could have conceived. Commander, she said, pointing to a series of weak points in the alien formation, they are following predictable patterns, but only if we act within expected limits. If we change our approach, if we use unpredictability, we can gain the advantage, Cale smiled. Exactly. You see what others cannot. That is why I chose you. The colony mobilized, but not in the traditional sense. Lyra advised Cale to use unconventional tactics, rerouting energy to shield vulnerable sectors, creating holographic decoys to confuse the alien sensors, and using rapid, unpredictable maneuvers rather than brute force. Each move required precision, timing, and insight beyond ordinary human capacity. The alien ships responded immediately, probing and adjusting. But Lyra anticipated their reactions, predicting shifts in energy patterns and movement before they occurred. Cale followed her guidance, coordinating the colony's defenses with incredible accuracy. For the first time, the colonists began to see the truth. The maid they had dismissed as ordinary was leading humanity in a fight against a superior force. Every command she suggested, every adjustment she predicted, gave the humans a small but critical advantage. As the battle unfolded in orbit, Lyra noticed another opportunity. The alien sensors focused heavily on energy emissions from the colony's core. By manipulating the energy flows and masking signals, she created the illusion of vulnerability. The aliens, seeing what they thought was a weak target, moved into a trap. Now, Lyra whispered to Cale, redirect all defensive drones to intercept the incoming ships from the left quadrant. They will take the bait. Kyle nodded, relaying her commands to the fleet. The trap worked perfectly. The alien ships moved where Lyra predicted, and the colony's defenses struck with precision. The aliens, caught off guard, could not adapt quickly enough. One by one, their formations broke apart. On the surface, colonists cheered as the battle shifted. For the first time, they realized that human ingenuity, adaptability, and insight could rival even the most advanced alien technology. Cale watched Lyra, admiration growing. She had turned what seemed like a hopeless situation into a victory through intelligence, perception, and calm judgment. After the battle, Cale addressed the colony. Today we have learned a lesson that cannot be taught in any classroom, he said. True strength is not only in appearance or weaponry. True strength is in insight, courage, and the willingness to see beyond the obvious. Lyra showed us what we could be if we trusted our minds and hearts. Lyra, standing beside him, finally allowed herself to feel pride. The same people who had whispered about her appearance now looked at her with respect and admiration. No one spoke of her being plain or unremarkable. They saw her for what she truly was, a human with extraordinary potential. In the following weeks, the colony embraced new changes. Lyra and Kale worked together to improve energy systems, defenses, communication, and education. She helped to design training programs that taught humans to think creatively, predict outcomes, and see connections others would miss. Slowly, the entire colony transformed, not just technologically, but in the way they approached problems and valued each other. One evening, Kale and Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The twin suns of Virelia were setting, casting golden light across the crystalline towers. Children played in the streets below, laughing and running freely. Adults moved with purpose, but also with curiosity, inspired to explore new ideas. Kale looked at Lyra. "Do you see it?" he asked softly. "The colony is changing. Because of you. Because we chose to value insight over appearances, courage over fear, and intelligence over superficial judgment." Lyra smiled, her plain face glowing with quiet satisfaction. "I see it," she said. "And I understand now why you chose me. Not for how I look, but for what I can do. And not just for me, but for everyone." Kale nodded. "Exactly. You are the symbol of what humanity can achieve. We are more than we appear. We are more than our strength, beauty, or training. Our true power lies in our minds, our hearts, and our ability to rise above what others expect." In the months that followed, other colonies began to take notice. Reports of Virelia's triumph spread across human space. Lyra's methods and insights became a model for future generations. She had shown that even someone overlooked, dismissed, or underestimated could change the course of history if given the chance. The alien force that had once seemed invincible never returned. Perhaps they had recognized the uniqueness of human potential and decided not to intervene further. Perhaps they had underestimated humanity once, but now, the humans of Virelia were ready for anything. One day, Kale and Lyra stood in the archives again, the same halls where their journey had begun. Holographic maps of star systems and alien civilizations floated around them. Kale looked at Lyra, a small smile on his face. "You have done more than I imagined," he said. "You have transformed the colony, saved countless lives, and shown humanity what it truly can become." Lyra shook her head, her eyes shining. "I didn't do it alone. You believed in me when no one else did. You saw what I could be before I even knew it myself. That made all the difference." Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. "Perhaps, but it was always there inside you. Hidden, yes, but waiting. And now the world knows the truth. Greatness is not on the surface. It is within, and sometimes it is hidden in the most unexpected person." As they looked out over the city, lights twinkling in the growing night, both knew that humanity's story had changed. The future was no longer about appearances or expectations. It was about courage, insight, and the hidden potential within each human being. And at the heart of that change stood Lyra, once the plainest maid in the colony, now a symbol of hope, intelligence, and the extraordinary power that lay within all of humanity. The journey that began with a simple choice had transformed not only one human, but an entire colony, and perhaps one day the entire galaxy.